Hey folks, Pastor Bruce joining you once again. And I want to look at this verse in Luke chapter 6, verse 45, especially, that I want to look at. Now, do you struggle with words, saying the right things at the right moment, and find yourself saying words that actually make the situation worse? And then blaming the other person or blaming the situation on the things that you said? Something like, if you hadn't said this, then I wouldn't have said that. Well, verse 45 doesn't let us get away with blaming something else. What we see in verse 45 is that it's really what's happening in our heart at the moment overflows into our words, so that what we treasure leads to what comes out of our mouth. So let's read this verse. The good person, out of the good treasure of his heart, produces good, and the evil person, out of his evil treasure, produces evil, because out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks. So what his mouth speaks is either producing good or producing evil. Or, like we see up here in this metaphor, it's either bad fruit or it's good fruit. Okay? So the good person, out of the good treasure of his heart, and the evil person, out of the evil treasure. Notice that both the good person and the evil person treasure. We have treasures. And what are we talking about when we say treasure? Well, we're talking about loves, values, the things that we value, the things that we hold on to, cling to, desire, long for, hope in. Those things are, it's whatever the answer is to all of that is your treasure. So if you're treasuring God and his ways and soaking in the goodness that God has shown you through his grace, through his love for you, by the sacrifice of his son, and all the promises that we have in God, and all the benefits that we have in God. Because of all that, if we're treasuring God, what is good, then out of our heart, we're going to produce good. That is, our mouth is going to speak well. It's going to be gracious talk. But if we're treasuring in our hearts anything that's not God, so even good things that we place in the place of God, make those good things now bad things. And if we're treasuring anything but God, then we have an evil treasure. And out of that evil treasure, we're going to produce evil. And so our mouth is going to speak in line with that. And that happens, again, the transition between what I'm treasuring one moment and what I'm treasuring the next moment changes like that sometimes. I could be sailing along during the day and doing so well and just treasuring God in my heart, and those kinds of words, gracious talk is coming out of my mouth. Something happens, and which is the context in which I am living in at the moment. The heat, for those of you who've been in my Gospel for Life class, it's the heat that you're experiencing. And out of that heat, you begin to treasure, long for, desire self self-preservation or whatever it might be. You've put yourself on the throne, not God on the throne. And out of that evil treasure, your mouth is speaking words that are corrupting or words that are tearing down. So this verse sounds like there are good people and there are evil people. And out of that is the way you speak. But you and I know that we jump from being good to evil instantly. And so the benefit, the grace that this verse is it clues us in as to what's going on in our heart when we can examine the fruit. So if we see up here, no good tree bears bad fruit, and nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Each tree is known by its fruit. So when we examine the words that are coming out of our mouth, instead of blaming the situation, the context, the heat, what we ought to do is say, what's going on in my heart right now at this moment that's leading me to say words that are corrupting or tearing down? So this verse is actually a verse full of grace. It tells us that we can see what's happening in our hearts, what we are longing for, loving for, treasuring, by the words that are coming out of our mouths. So let's see this over in Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. Now, how do we do that? Well, back in Luke 6:45, it's what are we treasuring at the moment? Do we treasure God? Do we treasure Christ? Is he who we are pursuing, longing for at that moment? If so, no corrupting talk will come out of your mouth. But let only such as is good for building up. So, no corrupting talk, but building up words. And those building up words come from a heart that treasures what is good, that treasures God above all else. So let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but, saying it positively, only such talk as is good for building up. That's his point. Only let building up words come out of your mouth. And those words come when we treasure what is good. Now, those building up words are conditioned also by what is the need of the moment. That's what these four words translate the one Greek word which means need. And we see that same word found here in verse 28, where the thief no longer steals, but labors, doing honest work with his own hands, with the purpose that he may share with anyone in need. What need might someone have that you could supply? Well, according to the need or the occasion, or according to the need of the moment, this building up word will give grace. That here we have purpose. The purpose of your building up words that fit the occasion is that you may give grace to those who hear, that you may direct people to Christ and his gracious work in them. that they may see the value of treasuring Christ as their greatest treasure. So let no corrupting talk or tearing down words come from your mouth, but only words, even in the heat of the moment, even in the heat. Let your words be building up words that fit the occasion, that you're giving grace to those who hear. Well, I hope this is encouraging for you today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.